Apple introduced some groundbreaking features this year at WWDC. So let me go ahead and grab my phone and we're gonna just dive straight into it. And timestamps will be left down in the video just in case you wanted to skip around. So first up, let's start with iOS 18. So the new customizable home screen lets you move apps to any part of the screen, allowing for blank spaces and breaking free from the old grid layout. You can also change your apps to dark mode, transforming them from a light color to a dark one. And even better, you can customize the hue of the apps, which gives you a more personalized experience, and I'm looking forward to seeing what color schemes people can come up with. The control center also got a revamp, and now you can customize it just like how you can customize the home screen. You can move widgets and applications around, and there are different views and more in-depth views for things like music or the Apple TV remote control. All the widgets used in Control Center can now also be used on the lock screen. This means that you can finally change the icons on your lock screen from the flashlight and the camera app to pretty much anything that you want. You can also assign these widgets to the action button on iPhone 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max, which is a really nice change because there weren't really many features that were available on the action button at launch. Next, Apple also moved to iMessage, which also has a bunch of new features. With tapbacks, you can now use emojis as reactions, which is really nice, but you can also create your own emojis to respond to people as well. You can also schedule messages, animate text effects, and format text with either underlining, italicizing, bolding, or even strike-throughs. The Photos app has been fully redesigned though, and I think it's probably going to be a lot easier to use now. They have a new section down on the lower third that is called the collection feature. And this basically makes it easier to find photos from a trip or even some childhood photos that were taken a long time ago. Apple then moved on to the audio and home section, and basically the biggest feature here came to the AirPods, where now there is a gesture feature. So if you were to get a call in a noisy environment or you're surrounded by people and you just don't feel comfortable answering the phone, all you can do is nod your head yes if you want to accept it, or no if you don't want to, which I think that is fantastic. I've been in many situations where I just let the phone ring because I don't have any hands available and I don't want to answer the phone call. Next, let's talk about macOS Sequoia. And they decided to choose the hardest name to spell for some unknown reason. But there are basically three main takeaways here, with the first being window tiling. So now you don't have to manually adjust your apps and screen sizes anymore. You can just drag them to the top right, top left, side to side, and it will automatically format the application to fit the screen in whichever way. I guess I can finally uninstall the Magnet app, which is something that I use for this feature. Secondly, you can now mirror your iPhone on your Mac, which is insane. And you can even do this while your phone is in another room and locked. I assume this will only work if you're on the same network and within range. I'm not sure if it will work over Bluetooth. It hasn't been fully specified, so I'll check into that later and let you know. And third, they introduced the Passwords app, which is pretty much replacing Keychain. Basically now it's a full functioning app, which kind of resembles NordPass or 1Password, which kind of sucks because I just bought Nord like a couple months ago. But hey, it's really nice to see that Apple is finally thinking about users and making it a lot easier for them to manage their passwords. So moving on to iPadOS 18, it basically encompasses the same thing as iOS with the customizable home screen and lock screen, but they also have some pretty specific iPad features as well. And in my opinion, the biggest thing that I saw in this section, and it was a meme for a long time, was the calculator app. And I know it's probably like, oh, it's just a calculator app. But no, what Apple decided to do with this calculator app made it fantastic. So now there is a math notes section, which you can basically go in and write out an equation, put an equal sign, and it will solve it for you. You can even change the equation to be like a log function and it will automatically update. This also is incorporated into iOS as well, so the math notes will be coming to both iPad, macOS, and iOS. I'm not gonna lie, I wish they would have done this a long time ago when I was in school, because now I kind of want to go back to school and be a math major so that way I can just kind of take notes and use this. That's neither here or there though, but oh god, I'm so childish. But you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and make a full video about math notes, which means that I will have to go get a new iPad, new Apple product on the way. Another cool update is the floating menu bar and context menu, which are coming to iPad specific applications. This will make it easier to navigate certain apps, and Apple is incorporating it into all of their native apps. And I'm pretty sure it will be pretty easy to incorporate this into third-party apps as well. SharePlay also received a major update to where now you can have someone take control. So I can see this being very beneficial if someone needs help. Instead of explaining it, you can just take over and do it for them. I can just really see this being a great way to teach people. I can honestly see Apple implementing this into their customer service because I know that they do offer classes for people who don't know how to use the devices. And now I can see them just being able to do it virtually by booking a one-on-one call. There's also a cool feature called Smart Scripts. So for people who take notes on their iPad and use the Apple Pencil, basically now what it'll do is take your handwriting and make it a little bit more legible and easy to read for later use. But not only that, you can also copy and paste text from a website and it will write it in your handwriting, which I think is pretty cool. Now let's get into the biggest thing. Apple introduced AI and they call it Apple Intelligence, which is a great naming scheme. And honestly, there's just so much to talk about here that I don't know if I will put it in this video, but I will be making future videos going over all of the AI features and how they can be very beneficial and useful to you. So if you want to see that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because that's going to be a fun video to make. But in short, Apple demonstrated a bunch of different ways that you can use AI. Siri is now much smarter and can significantly enhance your day-to-day efficiency. Here are the 3 big categories that they covered. They covered the capabilities, which talked about all of the different things that Siri can do. They talk about its architecture. This explained how it was built and mentioned that Apple has partnered with OpenAI, incorporating ChatGPT for certain tasks. So Siri can now determine whether it's better to use ChatGPT for specific queries. And the last one being experience. This described what it would be like using Siri and other AI tasks in various apps, such as rewriting text, generating images from text, and inserting them into documents. They also emphasized privacy, and as a cybersecurity person, I take pride in privacy. They stated that it was very important to them to make sure that your information stays secure. They achieve this by keeping the AI functions on device, but in certain instances where it may be too difficult for Siri to respond, it will ask you whether or not you want to go ahead and send it to ChatGPT. But the way that Apple has implemented it was they created their own servers that runs on Apple Silicon hardware, and it keeps all of your data private, which ensures that none of your data will be leaked and can be mined for later usage. However, though, support for these features are only coming to Apple Silicon chips, which is M1 and above, or A17 Pro chips, which are only in the 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max. Now, I don't know if Apple is going to water down some of these AI features so that they will be available in older phones, but I guess we'll just have to stay on the lookout for that. So lastly, let's talk about watchOS 11. The first feature Apple talked about was the training load feature, which I can see being very beneficial because this feature basically measures your workouts and gives you a rating from 1 to 10 on how hard it was for you based on previous data. And it can tell you whether you're working out optimally or if you're overtraining, that might make it hard for you to recover. Then Apple introduced the Vitals feature, which basically does exactly what it sounds like. It takes into consideration all of your vitals like your BPM, heart rate, your VO2 max, and things like that. And I think this is very helpful because it'll make it a lot easier to see all your stats at a glance and is very concise. Ever since Apple released the first iteration of the Apple Watch, they have been very focused on health, which is really nice to see. And that's a wrap on our WWDC recap. We covered a lot of cool features from iOS 18 all the way to watchOS 11. And if you want to see these things in action and more in depth, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell icon so that way you can stay notified for all of my videos. And I also released an everyday carry tech essentials as a computer science student video, and I think you will find that very useful. So that video will be right here. But that's it for me, and I'll see you in the next one.